Thank you for joining us early in the morning. We will continue with the morning sessions. Let us now go to track A on enterprises. The topic for this session is the keys to a successful digital transformation. Digital transformation is one of the areas with the highest priority. According to Salesforce, 80% of the companies around the world are attempting digital transformation, but only 3% have succeeded. If this is so, what are the know-how of the companies that have been successful in digital transformation? We will take a look at some practical advice. The presentations for this session will be by Ms. Tiffany Bova, Mr. Tim Hwang, and Mr. Yoon Ho Young. And this session will be moderated by Professor Kim Yongjin of the Business School at Sogang University. Please join us on stage and please welcome them with a big round of applause.
자, 그럼 시작해.
Okay, let's begin the session. I will hand over to the moderator. Good morning, everyone. I'm very happy to meet you. We're discussing digital transformation. How can we achieve a successful digital transformation? The speakers in the session are going to share with you very specific cases. The first presentation will be presented by Ms. Tiffany Bova with respect to CRM and the cloud, because Salesforce is a leading company in this area. Secondly, we are going to hear from Mr. Tim Hwang, who is founder and CEO of Fiscal Node in the areas of the legal information provision. There are many laws and regulations changing, and what will happen if you utilize AI for your business model? So he's going to be discussing that aspect. And then we will hear from CEO Yoon Ho Young of KakaoBank. A lot of people are wondering how KakaoBank has been able to achieve a larger market cap, which is larger than major commercial banks in Korea. So we will hear these three very interesting presentations. And of course, I'm going to talk about this later on, but the key, I believe, is in the process of digital transformation. If you want to be successful, you need to know your people. This is key. You need to have a good understanding of people. It means that you need to have a good understanding of your customers and their pain points. And also, to address these pain points of the customers, you need to understand your employees and whether they are capable of addressing these customer needs. And also, you are not doing business alone. You need to understand your partners. So you need to understand customers, employees, and your partners. These are key. A lot of people talk about technology for digital transformation, but I would like to argue that people are at the center of a successful digital transformation. And I'm sure that you will have questions on this topic as well. So with that, let's begin our presentations. The first one is going to be presented by Tiffany Bova, Global Growth and Innovation Evangelist from Salesforce.
Hi, my name is Tiffany Bova. I'm a Global Growth and Innovation Evangelist at Salesforce, and I'm thrilled to be here today with you at the Global HR Summit. While I can't be there in person, I hope you will enjoy this presentation about the experience equation and how these key trends can absolutely help set you up for a very successful digital transformation. So before I get started, I just want to acknowledge the fact that it's been a tough 18 months, regardless of where we are in the world. And so it's important that we continue to make sure that we take care of each other. People are absolutely the heartbeat of business. So let's get started. Let me begin by saying thank you. Thank you for spending time with us. Thank you for spending time with me in listening to this presentation. So let's begin with this new digital-first world we now live in. So many leaders are struggling with how do we absolutely pull together the kinds of tools and systems we need to inspect the business, to get our employees and our customers to participate and engage with us, to forecast better, to absolutely coach our people to the next level where they want to go in their career. and also advising our customers on how best to use the products and services that we sell. All of these things happening simultaneously is hard for anyone, but it's even made more difficult considering we can't always be face-to-face with those we work with or those customers that we have. So it's important for us to think about, how do we build this modern growth organization? What are the things we need to do? It absolutely begins with the customer. Being customer-centric, understanding that decisions you make in designing and developing products has to satisfy the need of a customer. Also, you have your internal stakeholders. Those customers are also important. So thinking about how has the experience those customers have with our products, our services, and our people will evolve over time, there's no shortage of opinions. 68% of customers on a global basis say that COVID has elevated their expectations of companies' digital capabilities, which absolutely means these transformations have to happen and have to happen now, because we've reached this tipping point. A tipping point in business, for sure, but a tipping point in how we engage with our customers. 80% of customers now believe that the products and services a company provides is as important as the experiences that they have, which means we have to think differently about those experiences. We actually think that by 2024, 2025, that number is going to get closer to 90%. Customers will make decisions on the experiences they have with your products and services almost equal to that of what you're selling. So it's important for you to always make these investments in the technology and the systems and the processes that support these customers. Now, if you don't make these investments, customers have told us that they view it as you have apathy towards them as a customer, that you don't care enough about them to make those investments. Now, that is a big statement, but 66% of customers also expect you to understand their unique needs and requirements based on information you have from their prior engagements and relationships with you, bringing that information forward and using it to inform a more insightful and engaging experience. The second part of this equation are the employees themselves. There are so many articles being written now today and conversations that we've seen around the importance of ensuring that your employees are happy, they're engaged, they're productive, and they're able to collaborate both internally and with the broader stakeholders and shareholders you serve. 92% of employees want flexibility around how they work and where they work, which means we as leaders have to think differently about how do we measure and manage those employees. Do we tighten up on productivity metrics, or do we give them the autonomy they need to make the right decisions, both for the business and for the customer? When you have an engaged workforce, the sky is the limit. 22% of higher productivity in organizations with high engagement. 62% of engaged employees feel their work positively impacts their health and well-being. And 21% have greater profitability from highly engaged teams. Now, it was a moment in time about 4 years ago. I was standing on stage in Canada, actually, and I made a statement. I didn't think it was a coincidence that Salesforce was one of the best places to work worldwide. It was one of the most innovative companies in the world, and also the fastest growing enterprise software company. I felt there was a strong correlation between those three statements. So I went to our CMO at the time and I asked, could I go out and prove this? Could I prove this hypothesis? I'd heard a lot said about the power of employee to drive a better customer experience. I read a lot about how important it is to be more customer focused and customer first even. I've also read a lot about being employee first and having the customer be second. But I wanted to make sure that I could find causation, that one actually impacted the other where it mattered most, at the revenue generation engine. So we went out to Forbes and did a deal with them, with the Forbes Insight team. And what we found is it absolutely drives faster growth. The first thing we found that was very interesting was 76% of revenue growth leaders rank employee experience as a top priority in the next 3 years. But only 29% of laggards, those businesses that did not have strong employee experience, had it ranked as their top 3. The next was 89% of revenue growth leaders say that improved employee experience leads directly to improved customer experience. When we did this research, we saw this as a one-sided equation. We actually called out that we didn't think it was going to be a virtuous cycle. Since this research, as this was United States based only, we've now gone global with the research, and we've found some fascinating insights into this very topic, which we'll be sharing in the next couple months. But I wanted you to know that there is a virtuous cycle. There is a way that happy customers will actually have an impact on the happiness of your employees. But the one that many got really excited about was the ability to prove causation. That we could show that companies that had strong and engaged employees and had very happy and engaged customers grew at a 1.8x faster growth rate than those that did not. So for a billion-dollar brand, it was a $40 million impact. That is massive, something we all can rally around. We've put a lot of rigor behind measuring the customer experience. We need to do that same level as it relates to employees. 51% of executives say that fast revenue does not automatically lift employee experience, that employees don't understand that great revenue, how does it translate in their day-to-day lives? How does it make their work easier? It's that direct line that an employee needs to understand what they do every day, day in and day out, has an impact on the revenue. When they understand that, they're more likely to be far more engaged when they can see the results of their labor. The next one, and I think this is really says it all, is the number one organizational challenge is executives of say that organizations are designed to either focus on employee experience or customer experience, but rarely both. Now, when this research first came out, I've actually shared it now globally in ASEAN, in APAC, in ANZ, in LATAM, North America, EMEA, all around the globe. And this one statement has been one that has stuck pretty consistently, where executives will say, you know what? I happen to be the chief human resource officer, but I don't have any line of sight into customer experience. I know I'm actually compensated on it because I sit at the executive level, and our chief marketing officer is responsible for customer experience. So I guess I have some benefit from when we do well, but I don't have a connection to that chief marketer in any real way outside of hiring and recruitment and maybe some retention activities, but not much around how does that correlation really show itself. And the same thing is said when I would speak to chief marketing officers or chief customer officers. I would ask, how often do you get together with your chief human resource or chief people officer and talk about actual employee development, in skill attainment, in how can we get our employees more engaged? What are the things we need to do with an understanding that that happy employee will absolutely directly impact your customers? Now, why isn't this happening? Ultimately, it's really comes down to three things. It's a lack of alignment of executives, as I was just describing. You may not have IT or the CIO, your chief people officer, human resources, and your chief customer or chief marketing officer connected in any real way. What about your chief revenue or chief sales officer? And even if you're a small organization, you don't have that many executive roles, and some may play multiple roles in their day-to-day lives, we still need to make sure that we find connection. There was a research project we did with MuleSoft, which is a company that Salesforce acquired. And this is just one stat that I think brings this lack of alignment home, is that the average enterprise has some 900 apps in it. Now, within that 900 number, there are things in human resources or in legal or in finance that are not meant to be shared. But the average only had 27% of those 900 apps integrated in any way. Imagine what that does to the employee. The employee may have to go to multiple systems. The processes are broken. Data is not the same in multiple systems. So as an employee, how do I know where my single source of truth is? Where do I go when I want to support and serve my customer? It's hard to understand that. So really getting to the bottom of it is that CX leaders at the highest decision-making levels cited a resistance to cultural change, changing the way the organization might be actually put together. It may also have implications on how people are actually measured and managed and compensated. How are people hired? Who does the interviewing process? Really driving towards this cultural change is the only way this works. Otherwise, you're going to continue to have siloed efforts between these huge and very impactful functions on a day-to-day basis, which at the end of the day doesn't serve anybody well. The second one has really been exacerbated over the last 18 months, burnout and turnover. Let me start with burnout. If everything you do in managing is productivity related, you're going to find yourself with a high level of burnout because people are just absolutely waking up every day trying to satisfy all those metrics that you've put in place from a productivity standpoint. They're not able to take those breaks, take the mental health and wellness time that they may need in order to give themselves the ability to show up every day with their best selves, which has led to this great resignation that people are leaving positions and leaving jobs because they just aren't happy and engaged any longer. They feel as if their employer has not treated them very well over the last 18 months, or has been so focused on profit that they aren't focused on the people side of the equation. So really focus in on, if you are working for a high growth company, make sure you're consistently surveying your people to understand, are they feeling this level, a high level of burnout, and are they looking to actually change positions? The third one is isolated teams. And I've been talking about isolated teams now for well over 10 years. And more importantly, the teams I focus in on is sales, marketing, and customer service. Think about those three. They're all customer facing. Customer service can also include field service if that's the case in your business. But how do you actually create synergy between them at the individual contributor level? Not at the executive level, not at the C-suite, but at the individual contributor level. How do I get marketers and sellers to communicate more? How do I get sales enablement to actually look at the customer service organization? How do I get everybody trained on the same systems? How do I start to clean up the processes so there are seamless handovers between employees in different groups, as well as responding to customers? How do we do that? Is by pulling together the EX and CX skills and actually allowing them to understand how each plays a role in their job every day. That has amazing, amazing impact on your ability to get everybody to understand the vision and mission of your company, but also what's their role in that vision and mission, and how can they improve themselves every day and make those investments so they can be happier employees, but also serve your customers in a better way. Now, here are some steps that you can take. There are 4 here, but there are many. First is align your company around a strong leadership and vision. Understanding what is your vision? How do you define a good employee experience? How do you define a good customer experience? Does everybody understand that? What are the metrics and measurements you put underneath it? How are the teams connected in order to do it? Pull IT in, the second one. Pull them into this operational strategy to focus in on customer experience. Think about that application example I gave. That is absolutely IT's responsibility to help your employees do their jobs in a more seamless way. It also is their responsibility to make sure that customers have that same kind of seamless experience. The third is to incentivize this cross-functional team to enhance both employee and customer experience. Those kinds of incentives will start to change behavior, and then it will start to naturally show itself because people will start to see the value in why those behavior changes have such big impact. And the fourth is to put the same level of rigor around your measurements and research on the employee side as you do on the customer side. Something like a Net Promoter Score on the customer side, what is the employee version of that? Are you surveying your customers on a regular basis to see what they like, what they don't like, what's working, what's not working? Do you do your employee survey once a year, once a quarter, once a month? How often you do it will give you those insights that you may not have access to know any other way. Those 4 things are a great place to start. The 5th one I'd like to add, considering I've now shared this so much as I mentioned, is to do an inventory on what you're already doing. What's working and not working? Where are there areas where you have quick fixes to change things immediately? Even something like setting up an email box or a Slack channel where people can give suggestions to your company that are employees on how you could do things better and differently to help them do their job better. You have to be willing to ask those questions. Then you have to listen. Then you have to give them feedback on what you're going to do and why, and even potentially what you're not going to do and why. But that kind of closed loop communication with your employees on a more frequent basis is absolutely a best practice. So I leave you with this quote. The fastest way to get customers to love your brand is to get your employees to love their job. Full stop. Once again, the fastest way to get customers to love your brand is to get employees to love their job. That has huge power behind it, both for employee first and customer centricity, or if you're a customer first organization, always make sure you have employee centricity. Whichever way works for you from a culture and vision and value standpoint, that's what you should do. But make sure you have a distinction between the efforts you do in one and the efforts you do in another. So with that, I'm going to say thank you. Thank you so much for spending time with me. I hope you've enjoyed this afternoon and listening to this presentation. Please reach out and connect with me on LinkedIn or Twitter. I look forward to hearing from you. Thank you so much.
Wow. Thank you, Tiffany. That's a beautiful, wonderful, and very insightful presentation.
A big round of applause, please. Thank you very much, Professor, for moderating A-1. We have learned of the technology trends and solutions, and we found that time indeed flies by. I am sure that you can all relate to the need of the technology transformation, and I'm sure that you always want tips into a successful digital transformation. We were able to listen to various advice from different perspectives. Through digital transformation, we look forward to companies being equipped with competitiveness for the future. This brings us to the end of the morning of Day 1 of Global HR Forum 2021. Thank you for joining us from very early in the day. We will now have a lunch break. For those of you who are here on site, if you wish to join us for lunch, please join us at the Art Hall on the 4th floor, and please make sure that you take your vouchers to the hall, and you will need to pay for your lunch on the 4th floor. We will see you at 2 o'clock. Thank you very much.